Hello, my name's Derek James. I'm the head of the Rewind Group, and I'm going to imagine that the reason why you're here is because you've maybe looked at a couple of videos on the Facebook page, someone's given you the link, and you're looking to pursue some inquiries with regards to you getting involved in the entertainment industry. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is make this very short. Behind me is our local football stadium, and I'm looking to use it as one of the training venues for people that are looking to get involved with the entertainment industry, to basically show you guys how you can be involved with the type of promotion that will help you sell out stadiums. Now, there's a bit of a backdrop to that. We'll come to that in a moment. Those of you that are looking at this presentation, you're going to be at different ages, you're going to be at different levels in terms of the development of your career. Some of you may be people that are veterans, others of you are just starting out. But in a nutshell, the music industry has changed a lot in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years. Once upon a time, people would go into studios and record on things like this. And in terms of product being sold, you know, people might look to sell something like this. Now it's all download, so there is no real business in physical product. So the idea is to show people how to start working at the stadium end of the business, where you learn how to bring in audiences. And the great thing is that because we now have systems like social media platforms, it enables you to start harnessing the interest of people who may be your future concert goers. Now, I run a course in Oxford, and it's a 6-week course. In other words, you come an evening per week. You have homework to do between each week, and the idea is to show new bands and artists how they can be involved in developing the audiences for their future career. But I have a special project that I really am involved with, which is getting people into the entertainment industry within about 6 week time, within a 6 week time period. And the reason for that is simple. If you are on the inside of the industry, not outside looking in, if you're on the inside of the industry, you can do everything that you need to do to navigate your way forward, to meet anybody that you would like to meet in the entertainment industry, the people that have got the ability to write the checks. In a nutshell, and as you would have seen on one of the promo videos, the bottom line is this: it costs a major label somewhere in the region of $1 million to launch a band, an unknown artist, into the public sphere. In other words, if a major label could find a way of cutting their costs and using the internet only, of course they would be doing it. But for whatever reason, in the last how many years of the evolution of the web, the public still wants to go for the big brand named bands and artists that seem to have had some kind of money spent on them, that seem to have some kind of public profile, that might be the bands and artists that are going to end up making the soundtracks for movies, maybe the bands and artists that are going to become, well, when we think of like people like Rihanna and Lady Gaga, they've gone in the direction of acting, which is no different than, say, Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, you know, a couple of generations ago. But the point that I'm really making is this: there is no way in which most people who are being involved in the online world to promote themselves are going to be able to develop the momentum to make things happen. So as said before, a major label, it costs around about $1 million for them to launch a new band or artist into the public sphere, and with that there's money. Now, if you're involved in the area of the business which is about live events, then live events is really about cultivating an audience who will turn up to see you at a venue, whether it happens to be a venue like this, somewhere that's slightly smaller, or in the case of bands and artists like Pt2 and Coldplay, places that can hold literally 8 times as many people that would come to this stadium. Now, it doesn't matter what sort of music you're involved with. You could be a country artist, R&B, reggae, it doesn't matter. Everybody who is involved in the entertainment business is involved in the audience development business. The people that turn up to see you are the guys that are going to be basically paying your wages. If you are only able to play at small venues, maybe that hold 100-200 people, then you can see the kind of money that you're going to earn. If you're able to play in venues like this, which is the one that Elton John did a dry run event at in 2007, then you can see exactly where your potential really is. So here's the concept. It doesn't matter what sort of music you're involved with, and it doesn't matter where you live. You could be in England, America, Canada, it doesn't matter. If you're a band or an artist that has an interest in becoming a big brand name artist, then the programs that I run are all about helping you do that. Now, it's really simple to understand. As I said before, I run a course in Oxford that is part of a college course, or it's taught at a college, okay? So stage one. If you don't know anything about the industry, then that's a good place to come just to kind of like cut your teeth. If you live in Oxford, that course is free. If you don't live in Oxford, then there are low budget courses that you can come on. I should say the cost is low, but you're not someone who's able to basically get it free because you're not an Oxford resident, who the courses that I run are actually paid for by the local government. Okay. If you're traveling in, then you can do one of our workshops. Again, there will be a course cost to that, but the real issue for most people is this: they really want to get into the industry. So I have a short course which is all about turning up for a couple of days, learning some ropes, with the idea that the ropes that I give you at that point in time gives you the currency that you need to get behind the scenes. And then what I do is I support people whilst they're behind the scenes. Think of it kind of like McDonald's. There's McDonald's, the big organization that has all of these franchises all around the world. McDonald's does all of the advertising on television, but you, the local McDonald's chain owner, gets the benefit of the national TV or the national TV exposure. So it's something similar like that in nature. Now, with regards to you getting involved with the music industry, it doesn't matter whether it doesn't matter what sort of music you're involved with. I am setting up, and there is being developed now, a 2-part program, 3-part program. Program part 1, if you are a local studio owner, it doesn't matter whether you're in London, Oxford, Kentucky, New York, it doesn't matter. Every single record label that we know of in terms of the big major labels have departments all over the world. And what I'm able to do is this: we can set you up with a means by which the bands and artists that come to your recording studio can be shown and seen by major label executives. Now, here's the big thing, or here's how you need to think. Obviously, not everybody who comes to your studio is going to be what you might call Billboard Top 100 material. They're just not. So presenting bands and artists to major label people who aren't that good isn't really going to do you any favors. So you've got to be very strategic with the people that you decide to pull out from amongst those that you're working with, and then giving them the opportunity to be in front of a major label. So there's a downside to being known as the studio locally where major label auditions can take place. If everybody knows that you're the studio that is able to facilitate inroads into the major industry, you are going to be hounded, just like Simon Cowell's hounded, by hordes of people looking at your studio as their inroad to the industry. And the thing is, if you don't give people their inroad into the industry, you're going to find that there are people that just aren't going to like you very much. And the reason for that is simple: they see you as a barrier to their entry, to their stardom. So I would suggest that if you are a local studio owner, you want to play your involvement with the way in which you're working with majors down. Don't make it a major selling point, because if you do, there will be people who will, they're only going to deal with you on the basis of you giving them an inroad to the career that they want. To make this simple, I've got a cousin who is one of the most powerful industry executives in the UK. He's friends with Richard Branson. He works for the Prince Harry and Prince William in terms of being one of their media advisors. And I could have taken bands and artists to him, and I could have used my cousin as my badge to say, I can get you in the industry. If I did that, then there would be people who would be saying, well, why haven't you got us a deal? The people that I choose not to introduce to major label people like that is simple. Most of them aren't that good, all right? 97% of all people that are trying to get into the entertainment industry will fail for a number of reasons, from not having any contacts, not having any money, and so on and so on. But one of the reasons, with a lot of people who are self-elected future Gaga, self-elected future Rolling Stones, and you name the band in terms of artists that have achieved. The problem that a lot of bands and artists have is that they don't have the ears to judge whether or not what they're doing is good, hence them working with people like you who own studios, who have the ear to understand what will work as a commercial venture and what won't. So some people are trying to get into an industry that their talent quotient is not going to give them the ability to appropriate. So, but with that, you decide how you want to work with us. We have a program that will give you the ability to act like a marriage broker. In other words, you will set up the artist with the major label executive who will look at this band or artist. And the reason why they're going to look at this band and artist isn't because the band and artist is great in and of themselves. Now, the band or the artist may be good, but the issue isn't that the band or artist is good. The issue is that with what we do at the Rewind Group, we can get the bands and artists the profile that they need, because everything that I'm about is all about how do you build audiences for bands and artists. Does a band or an artist need to be in front of 1, 2, 3, 4, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, a million, 10 million, 20 million? What's the target that the major label is going to ask me to achieve for this band to then have a commercial viability? No audience means no product, okay? A band or an artist has to come to a major label with the audience. Once the band or an artist is good enough, quote unquote, a major label can approach me and say, Derek, will you help this band, will you help this artist build an audience for what they do? And then a major label's in a position to say, right, okay, we're going to invest in studio time and so on. So your studio can be sponsored by major labels if what you do in terms of the way in which you pick the talent is good enough, okay? Now, for you guys who aren't part of a studio network like the one that I've just mentioned, you don't live close to a studio, you may record your own music. So you're basically your own producer. You can join our program, and there'll be various projects that will be turning up, and you can see what's available and join at that appropriate time. And then you can be in contact with major labels, but you have to understand this. The major label is the person who is paying our bills, okay? In other words, when I wrote my book, The Director Fanbase Revolution, it was written, published, ISBN number and all that, but I didn't make it available to the public. And the reason for that is this: $1 trillion a year has been rewiring the planet since 1989. That's a whole bunch of money. The reason why we've got all of these new media systems, including the systems that can get people in front of up to 1 billion people, well, it's going near closer to 2 billion now because of another recent development. The reason why all of that is possible is because this $1 trillion a year that is rewiring the world is giving people the ability to be in front of 1 billion people, 2 billion people. But the issue is this: celebrities have a starting point in terms of their fame level that enables them to then leverage their fame to be in front of a gazillion people. We understand the numbers. But what I want you to understand is this, is that the reason why I didn't make my book available to the public, quote unquote, is because there's no point, because you don't have access to a starting point in terms of the leverage base to make access to those multiple millions possible. So the reason why the Rewind Group and Rewind Live was set up was to work with major labels who choose the bands and the artists that they want to be involved with, so that they can then say, okay, these bands, these artists, we're sponsoring them, and let's see how, when they're exposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50,000, 100,000, 1 million, 2 million people, how well the public responds to them. That's what my job is. And it's major labels that I've set this thing up to be the paymasters, so that what I need to do can be accomplished. And I'm using things like artificial intelligence technologies and so on. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean to say that I don't work with artists. There are some people who I see who I'm going, wow, she's good, he's good, they're good. I choose to get involved with them because in terms of kind of like a hobby-esque approach to what I'm doing, I'm not there trying to build the next Motown, to build the next Universal Records, to build the next. That's not what I do, because for me, that's not where I see the world as going. The world now, in terms of the music industry, is now a live business, and the live business is about filling out stadiums, and record sales is a byproduct of live, people liking you live. So music now is part of a merchandise range. It's not the main product. So with that, we understand that everything that I'm about is working with people. Now, I may have days, so you might see a seminar day where what will happen is this: you might want to come to a seminar. So let's just say you live in Nashville. You might want to come to a seminar day in Oxford. So that means you're traveling to the other side of the world. more than likely what will have happened before you even decide to turn up is that we will do video auditions. In other words, I'll look at you online, or a group of people will look at you online, and then based on them looking at you, you'll be given a yes or a no in terms of, is it worth you coming to England? Because if you are coming to England for a course, the idea is that I have done some talent scouting, or the people that I work with have done some talent scouting, giving you the nod with an understanding that we will then be recommending you to major record labels. And when you come here, you're coming here not as somebody, you know, you're going to get some training and so on, but the idea is that you're coming here with an understanding that we've done some talent scouting at our end. We've looked at what you do, whether it be rock, country, reggae, we don't care, you know, in terms of genres, you know, we're doing classical, everything. We've looked at you, we understand that what you do is good, and we're recommending you to majors. But remember, we're just, in terms of that talent scouting element, we're just one part of the puzzle. What should be happening over the coming years is that record studios around the world, so let's just say in terms of the Western world and the Billboard Top 100 ratings, we're going to say record labels in England, record labels in America, record labels in Canada will understand that there are studios in various parts of Canada, in various parts of America, in various parts of England that have talent scout bases there. Now, when you heard me introduce this presentation, or you heard me speak about studio owners, there are some studio owners who we will be working with who will be keeping their involvement with us very hush-hush, in the sense of what they will be doing, because they can't upset the business that they're involved with locally. Because I want you to imagine this scenario. Let's just say that there is a recording studio where you live, and that recording studio where you live is known as the studio where everybody who can get a record deal can. In the early days of their involvement with us, it is best for them to keep their involvement with us quiet. In other words, they can't go around saying, we're involved with P. Diddy, we're involved with, because the moment they say that, every single rap artist will turn up at that studio with an understanding that that's an inroad. But the problem is this: a lot of the people who are going to that studio won't be that good. They might not be nice people, okay? And there are some artists locally that don't have a good attitude. They might not be, and there might be a number of things that are going against them. From the perspective of their coming into the studio to pay studio time to record an album, that's their prerogative. But when people go to a studio with a vested interest mindset, in other words, the only reason why I'm going to this studio is because the people at the studio have an inroad to specific music industry execs, that's going to cause a conflict of interest for the studio owner. Of course it is. Because if the studio owner is then challenged by the artist, you know, the pushy type, that says, why aren't you giving me a record deal? Why aren't you introducing me to these people that you know? That client could then say, well, I'm not going to bring my custom here anymore. They had no intention of bringing their custom there anyway. The only reason why they were turning up was because they were buying studio time on the basis that that studio time was going to give them an inroad into the industry. As said before, I have people that I know in the industry well. I have people that I don't mind telling people no. Now, you can't tell everybody yes. So I don't mind that. My disposition is that way inclined. But what I'm saying is this, is that if you are coming to one of our classes, if you are coming to one of our courses, you're coming here with an understanding that we've already set it up so that you can have an inroad with major labels, okay? Most recording studios, when they start up with us, aren't going to be in the position to be able to tell people this is their working relationship with the Rewind Group and these are the major label executives that we have access to, because they may not have made money where they are able to make a transition from being a paid per hour studio. In other words, so there's no difference between them and McDonald's. The amount of burgers that McDonald's sells, the local McDonald's restaurant sells, is the amount of profit it's going to make. The amount of studio hours that is hired out by a studio owner is the amount of money that they make. Now, if that studio owner is then telling its clients, we can't give you record deals because really we know you're not that good, then it's obvious that those clients aren't going to go there anymore. The studio would more than likely want to become a full-time studio working exclusively with major label projects, but when it starts working with the Rewind Group, that might not be the position that they're able to take. So hopefully that makes sense for you. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this presentation to a close with an understanding that it doesn't matter who you are. If you are a music label, if you're a recording studio, if you are a band, if you are an artist and you want to get an inroad into the industry, join us on Facebook, keep up to speed with what we're doing. We will look for the bands and artists that we think can be signed. Studio owners in your area can join us and become an affiliate studio to us. In other words, they now know that they can find and look for talent in their area where you live, and hopefully you're one of them. So you should be telling the studio owners that you know about this inroad into the industry. And the idea is that we're going to be having workshops where you get to meet the executives, because the music that you create today, you might think, yeah, this is great and this is going to do me a favor in the industry, but it might be that they're saying, look, this is what we're looking for. It might be a film soundtrack. You might be the person that is capable of making that film soundtrack. Now, to bring this presentation to a close, 2 billion people connected to the web in terms of being able to get in contact with them through smartphone technology and so on. All of that interconnectivity has nothing to do with selling physical products, selling albums, selling CDs, selling once upon a time cassettes, okay? So if you are a band, if you are an artist, if you have the ability to talk to the public, in other words, if you think that you're the future Gaga, the future Rihanna, the future Jay-Z, the future, put your own name in the blank, okay, future Coldplay. If you think that you're one of those, then get in contact with us by using the Facebook page. We will give you updates and we will be speaking to the studios in your area. You can tell the studios in your area about what it is we're doing. We're going to be doing a lot of publicity. We're going to be doing a lot of radio work. We're going to be doing everything that is necessary to make this initiative known, because today, with the ability to get in contact with 2 billion people, which is a progressive thing. In other words, you don't blast somebody into the world of 2 billion. We will give you the publicity agendas that will get people listening to you. That's what it's about. It's about having the means by which you have the currency to be involved with an ever-expanding group of people and knowing what the subject matter is to make that conversation actually work. And in that world, you're now in the position to grow an audience. And if you are a future Gaga, Rihanna, Damian Marley, and we can go on, if you are a future brand name, we will give you the inroad methodology to be in front of up to 2 billion people. That's the way that the industry is now working, and filling out stadiums is what the business of entertainment in the world of music is now all about. So this is Derek James bringing this presentation to an end. Thank you for your time, your interest, and hope to see you guys soon, one day maybe in Oxford or somewhere on tour, on a video chat or in front of a major label executive where we're having a conference call about how we can get you guys signed up to a major label. So with that, see you soon.